The X Zone Radio Show is heard on radio broadcast affiliates worldwide, including
AM 580 CFRA in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada.
WPUL AM 1590 in Daytona Beach, Florida.
KOHI AM 1610 in St. Helens, Oregon.
KHRO AM 1150 in El Paso, Texas. And for more information on becoming a professional broadcast affiliate of the X Zone Radio Show, visit
www.xzbn.net
or call toll-free worldwide
1-800-610-7035.
The X Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, Star Cable, XZoneTV.com. X Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Laura Walthers. And Laura grew up in the Midwest where she loved playing in the trees and spending time in nature. With 14 years' experience as a professional photographer, Laura uses her creative muse to discover the hidden realms of the fairy. Now, her life took on a whole new dimension when she photographed a group of nature beings while on a hike with her daughter, Jess, and her husband, Paul, in Washington State. She began to photograph real fairies, gnomes, elves, and the energetics of sacred trees and nature. And when they began to communicate with her, she was asked to help humanity awaken to the consciousness that is nature and to teach people about the sacred relationship we have with the elemental kingdom. Laura's new book is entitled Life in Nature Revealed, Real Photographs of Fairies, Gnomes, and Elves. It's a compilation of what she calls conscious photography. She has actual photographs of elementals taken in such spectacular sites as the redwoods of California coast, the Olympic forests of Washington State, the Willamette Valley of Oregon, Mount Shasta, and even the Mojave Desert. Laura is currently doing public presentations of incredible multidimensional nature photography, and she also awakens children to discover the different levels of energy in nature. Her website, www.beingenchanted.com. And Laura Walthers, welcome to the X Zone.
Welcome to you, Rob. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a great pleasure. Tell me, we've got about a minute before I have to go to a commercial break, so I would just like to ask you, what was it like the first time you realized that these fairy tale personalities such as fairies, Gnomes, and Elves were not fiction, but were real?
Oh, it was shocking at first, but it was also something that I kind of remembered. It was almost like a recall, like a deja vu feeling. And I'm sure that a lot of you have this. It's something that humanity has forgotten, and the book and the photographs are to awaken humanity to that level of awareness. But it was absolutely joyful, loving. I wanted to dance around and kind of do a little jig. It was like, oh my gosh, these are real beings.
You
And
wanted to join in the fairy circle and partake in the in the dance.
Of course.
Yeah. Laura, you and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break. Please stand by. Exonation Laura Walthers is our special guest. She's the author of Life in Nature Revealed, Real Photographs of Fairies, Gnomes, and Elves. Her website is www.beingenchanted.com. And we'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone, live from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
Everybody needs a little time away. I've heard her say from each other. Even lovers need a holiday. Far away from each other. Oh, now it's hard for me to say I'm sorry. I just want you to stay.
Exonation Laura Walthers is my special guest. And her website is www.beingenchanted.com. And she's the author of Life in Nature Revealed, Real Photographs of Fairies, Gnomes, and Elves. And Laura, how did you first discover the fairies and nature beings in your photographs?
Well, it was about 7 years ago, and my husband Paul, my daughter Jess, and I were visiting the Pacific Northwest in Washington State, and we were hiking in a forest, and I came to a particular tree that I now call the enchanted tree. I had my camera with me, and I wanted to get some photographs of the forest. When I stopped to take an image of this tree, this feeling came over me. It was just incredible. It was like warm honey and sunshine flowing down inside my body. I looked over and asked my husband if he could feel it too, and he just had this blissful look on his face. And it felt like we were inside this bubble of energy that was just glowing light all around us. So I knew this tree was very special. And when I got home from the trip, I started looking closer at the photograph, and I discovered that it had many beings of nature in it. And a layer of dimension or of the nature realm had actually been revealed to me. It was a miracle. It was just incredible. And that was actually my first doorway of connection to the nature beings.
Had you had an interest in fairies, elves, and gnomes prior to discovering the photographs that you've taken of them?
Yes, definitely. I'd always believed in them and felt that they existed. I wasn't one of those people that really had to research it or anybody had to prove it to me. It was always in my heart. I felt they were amongst the gardens and the forests, and I think that was just an old memory that had been tucked away. And as a child, I felt I saw one, and my parents didn't really support that, so I kind of kept it to myself.
How do you communicate with fairies?
Well, it's mostly on a telepathic and emotional level. I actually felt them before I saw them.
What do they look like?
Well, to me, they're light form, and then as they kind of come into more of the density of our dimension, because they're like us, they're made of light, they kind of take on the shape of what we would recognize them as. In other words, if you would imagine an elf with a long green hat and it had a little feather in it, that may be how it appears to you. Not that they actually have that on their dimension, but what we would say in our brains, how we have recorded our memories of them, is how they would telepathically come to us. So that's kind of how they've come through and into the photographs as well.
So do we actually create their reality on this plane based on our belief of what they look like and how they act?
Create their reality. Well, in a way, yes. We all create reality from thought forms.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever they are, if we open to communicate with them, we kind of join together, and then we create it together.
All right, let me ask you this question then. Can two people look at the same fairy, gnome, or elf at the same time, and would that nature being appear the same way to both people?
It could, but possibly not. Because even the photographs, this is what's so amazing. There's different layers of energy in the photographs. It's not an actual two-dimensional photograph. And it's a multi-dimensional photograph, so it's actually like a hologram. So when I do my presentations of my work, I always tell the crowd that, there's no wrong way to see something in the layers of energy, because you're actually relating to it by your own experience, your own imprint of the signature of the energy that you brought in to this life form. So you could see it totally different. I've had that happen a lot. Some people see animals. Some people might see fairies.
And I would imagine there's people who don't see anything at all.
Yeah, I mean, some of the photos, it's kind of hard to dismay that, but they can. I mean, if you're not open to it, you can totally, close your mind off. It's possible. That's a choice as well.
Now, do you have to be psychic or clairvoyant to capture these nature beings in photographs?
No, actually, you just choose to meet them where they are, which is in a state of joy and love, and they work with us all the time. They actually exist in many different frequencies and vibrations, and they are what we call multidimensional beings.
All right, maybe you can help us better understand by describing the difference between a fairy, a gnome, and nature beings.
Okay. Yes, depending on where you are on the planet, the word fairy takes on different meanings.
Yeah, to me, I think of Tinkerbell.
Yeah, so like I was going to say, the American version, correct, is Tinkerbell, the fairy in Peter Pan.
Yeah.
It is really what you would call a nature sprite or a sylph. In Ireland, the fairy, and spelled F-A-E-R-Y, are actually an advanced, loving race of gods and goddesses that actually live there. And the people believe their lineage was actually mixed in with these beings. A gnome is what you would call an elemental. They are nature beings that work specifically with the earth. They work with the minerals, soil, and plants. And they tend to be shorter and stockier than the fairies, mainly because they work with the bigger picture. They literally work with the soil, minerals, and plants. They can also be very playful and bratty. And the term nature beings is a broad term for many levels of beings that work in nature. They share their life force and keep everything beautiful and balanced.
Where would a leprechaun fit in?
Fit in? What do you mean by fit in?
Well, what do we classify a leprechaun as? Is a leprechaun a fairy? Is then a leprechaun a gnome? Is a leprechaun an elf?
Yeah, a leprechaun would fit into a nature being setting. They can live in houses. They live in the forest. Leprechauns are very playful, like the gnomes, but they do have different things that they do, and they listen to a higher power, just as we would listen to, like, say, Source, God, whatever we would call that higher power, which is also Gaia, which is Mother Earth as well. They listen to a higher.
Why did they choose you to represent them?
Well, they chose me because I was open and had the skills to open the doorway to seeing nature on many levels. This is an ongoing journey for me. The elementals reveal information to me as I need it. I truly trust them, and they show me when it's time to pay attention to something. Like this radio show, for instance. I received an email from a reporter, and it felt right to respond to it. a lot of this comes from my intuitive knowingness, and it's taken me years to honor this connection with them. Part of this connection is because of my own self-healing and my choice of unconditional love as a way to express myself. It allows us to have more fun in our relationship, and it keeps me from being stuck in my analytical left brain.
You know, a lot of people, when you talk about fairies, gnomes, elves, they think it's totally mythological, the subject of fairy tales and children's books. How do you represent them in a world that is so skeptical?
Well, that's a good question. I just know and trust that it's truth, and I feel them. I think that would be the best answer to that, is I really feel their energy all the time, and each photograph that a specific one comes through has a different energy signature, just like you have a different personality. So they actually become my group on another level of feeling. And well, let me tell you a little story about the night before I went to the enchanted tree for the first time. I was staying in a cabin, and I felt drawn to go on a walk in the forest at dusk. And I followed a path to the nearby woods, and I can feel them all around me. I couldn't see them, but I could most certainly feel them. And that is usually how you first encounter them. You sense them or you feel them. And I felt their love and asked them if they wanted me to help raise humanity's awareness of them. But if they wanted me to help them, they had to show themselves to me on this trip. At the same time, I didn't realize what I had done. I had actually created a contract with them. And my life hasn't been the same since, and I don't regret my choice for one moment. I am so happy it changed. I see my life and everything around me with a new lens.
All right, so how has your life changed? How has being the representative of fairies, gnomes, and elves added to your life?
Well, many things that are given to us by them are through feeling. First of all, just having them in your presence, if you're opening your heart to them, or even in nature, wherever you are, they bring you joy. So they help you lift out of your mundaneness, out of your analytical brains. They help you to de-stress. If you were to say what are the benefits in connecting with them, well, they help to enlighten us. They awaken us to our potential and show us how exciting it is to connect with nature. They help us open our hearts. By doing that, helps us to connect with nature in a more conscious way. We get to see the real beauty of nature on many different levels. For instance, tree spirits can actually help us heal ourselves if we take the time to connect with a tree. Take a moment and sit down and feel the consciousness of a tree in your own yard. You would be amazed at what you could experience if you open yourself to the tree. Even in our gardens, you can actually increase the production of vegetables and have flowers that bloom with incredible beauty and fragrance simply by taking the time, by connecting with them and experiencing them. In other words, they respond to our love just like anyone else.
You and I have to take our break with the news at the bottom of the hour. Please don't go away. Exonation, Laura Walthers is our special guest. She is the author of Life in Nature Revealed, Real Photographs of Fairies, Gnomes, and Elves. Her website is www.beingenchanted.com, and we'll be back on the other side of this news break as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
From each other, even lovers need a holiday. Far away from each other. Home now.
You're listening to the X Zone Radio Show, live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network. X-Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio,
Euro High Definition Radio,
and Star Cable. Our toll-free telephone number worldwide is 1-800-610-7035.
Our email address, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com.
On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com,
And our website,
www.xzoneradiotv.com.
Every time I see your face, it reminds me of the places we used to go. But all I've got is a photograph, and I realize you're not coming back anymore. I thought I'd make it the day you went away, but I can't make it till you come home again to stay. I can't get used to living here on my heart is broke. My tears are crying for you. I want you here to have an hold as the years go by and we grow old and gray.
Exonation, Laura Walthers is our special guest. We're talking about Laura's new book. It's titled Life in Nature Revealed, Real Photographs of Fairies, Gnomes, and Elves. Her website is www.beingenchanted.com. Laura, during the commercial break, I was just mentioning to you that I wonder if the fact that you are a photographer and a photographer has a very keen and open eye, you're an artist, if this had something to do with the reason why the fairies also chose you to represent them.
Yes, I believe so. That was part of the reason, and also, as I do photography now, as I call it conscious photography, I literally don't take things for just an aesthetic value. I actually feel the direction they want me to go. Sometimes trees are way off the beaten path, and I'll just know to go to the left and keep going until I find that tree and it finds me. And then later there's things that come about in that tree. There's special energies that they want to project through that tree. So it's become not just a one dimensional level of beauty. It's more like it's an experience for people and for me as well as shooting it.
What does your husband think about your connection with the fairies and the gnomes and the elves?
Oh, he loves it. He's like dances with me through the whole journey. He was with me when we were in the first doorway that we went through in the forest, and it's just been lovely ever since. He's never doubted it. He's had his own experiences, and he just supports it 100% and loves it.
Now, do the same fairies communicate with you all the time, or are there different fairies that communicate with you?
Different ones, because it's just the experience of, because I'm creating, I think, the book itself. I've even got another book that I'm working on that's kind of a second to the first one. So they're just wanting to get the word out, to awaken humanity. It's time. So this is why they're choosing not just me. I have other people that have even gotten photographs that show them as well. I even have a few in my book of other people's work. So it's not just several people doing it. They're really wanting to, the best way they can do it, they're going to work with beings that are open to their energy.
Do they have the ability to materialize?
They do. It's just hard for them. It's a very dense energy here. So it's usually, very rare that happens unless you're in, I would say, a place on the planet that's got a very high vibration, maybe like a sacred forest that's been non-humanized or non-civilized since the beginning of a long time ago, and they don't, they can collect there and kind of bridge their energy there. But yes, they can, and I know people that have witnessed that. So that's kind of, a yes answer for sure.
Yeah. Tell me, what is their message? What is the message they want you to tell the world?
Well, it is time to remember who we are and why we're here. They're made of light just like we are. Mm-hmm. They're evolving just like we are. To move forward with Mother Earth, we are being asked to embrace one another in a more conscious and loving way. Their role is to create beauty and harmony on this planet. Humanity has stepped out of this balance, and it is time to reconnect with each other, open our heart, and move into the next level of consciousness.
Mm. Where do they come from if they are not from this realm? What are their origins?
Well, like us, they're multidimensional beings. Parts of them come from way far away from where we could imagine, different parts of the galaxies. They're evolving just like we are. As far as their being on the planet through I think the European countries were the first places that they originated. But they're all over. They're all over because first of all, we got to remember they are actually in another dimension. They exist on the fifth dimension, which is not in time. And we won't go into that, real heavily, but that's why you don't see them per se, or that's why they can do a lot of the things they do. Mm-hmm. They're so busy all the time working side by side with us, we just can't see them because they're in another frequency.
In the stories, the fairies, the elves, and the gnomes can do miraculous things. They can help people. They can turn straw into gold. They can make miracles happen. Is this just myth, mm-hmm. legend, folklore, or is this real?
This is absolutely real. And it's actually an example of what we can do, our potential. That's what they're there to show us, our potential. It's so much about thought, and we hear that a lot, but do we really believe that? Our potential is through what we create, and that comes from our thoughts. And I've had many things happen miraculously just in working with them and in other ways. So they are here to show us through nature that we can become more of who we really are, which is beyond the physical, which is like, what that means is like you can be a self-healer. You can heal yourself from something that you would think only medicine or a doctor could do. Mm-hmm. Or you could write a symphony if you want. If you're a musical talent, tap into, that part of you that maybe in another lifetime you were, a musician. So they're here to kind of help court us in a way and enchant us into being more of who we are.
Give us an example of your relationship with one of these nature beings.
All right. Yes, but okay, let me give you some insight on how some of our common phrases come from our relationship with these nature beings. Have you heard of the expression knock on wood?
Certainly.
Yeah. Well, that comes from England over 2,000 years ago, and the Druids and Celtic priests were prevalent at the time, and they would seek out advice from the tree spirits, or in those days also known as tree dryads. And what they do is they would knock on the tree to ask the tree spirit about their concerns, whether it be healing herbs, crops, or any advice for an upcoming journey they were going to take. And because of their connection to nature, this guidance was given openly and directly from the tree spirits. I personally have a catalpa tree in my own backyard. I communicate with its tree spirit. The tree actually told me its name was Sal, S-A-L. Whenever I need to ground or clear negative energies, Sal actually helps me do it. I actually sit down, lean against his bark, and make a conscious intent to connect with him. As I feel his energy, I then know we are one. one of the most amazing experiences with Sal was this last spring. I was sitting with Sal, and I heard this loud cluster of popping noises, just pop, 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 hundreds of them. And I'm like, what the heck was that? I couldn't figure out what it was, so I asked Sal, I said, what the heck was that, Sal? And his response was that he had just opened up a multidimensional space for me to hear what it sounds like when this enormous tree goes through its rebirthing in the spring. I could actually hear the sound of a tree budding in the spring. And the feeling was spectacular. Also, one time my friend Christina and I were walking in a forest, and I came across about 150-foot tall redwood tree, and all of a sudden I stopped in my tracks, and she bumped into me from behind. And she asked, why did you do that? And I told her, this tree just spoke to me. I could hear this loud, thunderous voice in my head. And she asked me, well, what did it say? I said, okay, are you ready? She said, yes. It said, stop! I was just baffled, and I knew it wanted its photograph taken loud and clear, so I did, and it's in my book.
It reminds me a little
of
bit of the Wizard of Oz, where when Dorothy's going through the enchanted forest and the trees come to life.
Absolutely. It's like, Walt Disney had it going on, He definitely understood all that, and I think he was part elemental. He understood that because he's done many things that have brought that into our hearts.
So tell me, do these little elementals or fairies like you to put out food or little gifts for them?
Oh, absolutely. They love it. Yes, on rare occasion they will actually take the food, but more commonly they take the life force or the essence of the food. This is more on an energetic level, but it is best when you leave small portions of bread or chocolate, milk, or whatever you like to share. But just understand they don't eat meat of any kind. Their relationship to animals is very sacred. They also like trinkets. I have left silver earrings and rings for them and holes of trees. They love it when you make fairy houses for them. Really, it's the intent of having them in your space in a loving way is a great way to start the relationship. This opens a doorway to telepathically communicate with them.
Tell me about your new book, Life in Nature Revealed, Real Photographs of Fairies, Gnomes, and Elves.
Well, I feel very privileged to have created a book of energy and love from the nature realm. And it's a compilation of my photography taken in nature. And as you said at the beginning, it's from all over. It's from the California redwoods, Olympic forests, the Willamette Valley, even in the desert I have some. But the nature beings really reveal themselves in the photographs to be seen now. And children who connect with nature look at the book and almost instantly recognize the elementals in the photographs. I don't even have to point them out to them. They just see them.
Really, eh?
Like it's a matter of fact thing. Oh, there's one there. And their parents are going, what? What are you seeing? It's great because it helps the parents open up.
We know for a fact that children are able to see what we adults have long lost, forgotten how to see. Whether it's the little friends that all children have, whether it's angels, whether it's spirits, elves, gnomes,
Right.
and fairies. Why do we forget? Why do we close our mind off to these possibilities? And how can these elementals help us to reopen ourselves to them?
Well, I think we close them off because we get caught up into that external reality. We forget that there's an inward reality that's just as important. In other words, how do we hear that voice within ourselves? What is that voice, and what does that voice teach us? So a lot of our external distractions have shut us down, and not that technology is bad. It's very good if you use it in minimal, balance. I don't think anything is really that bad if it's with a good intent, but it's also with balance. I'd like to see children be out with their parents more in nature, because that's where they feel balanced. That's where we all feel balanced. Matter of fact, the harmonics in nature, even the sounds of nature, are harmonic for our own tones of, like just sitting in a forest or sitting in a park. there's literally vibrations of energy and sound that come to us that we don't really hear with the human ear, but help us to balance. So that's why it's very important to always use nature as part of your de-stressing and balancing.
I don't know if you can answer this question. How does the electromagnetic frequencies that are emanated by computers, cell phone towers, affect the little fairies, gnomes, and elves, since they're not from this dimension?
Yeah. Well, it does affect them because it's disharmonic, but I think that there are, as time evolves, as we evolve, as the planet evolves, which we all are evolving, there are certain ways that we can build boundaries of energetics around us to help with that. But I think that it does make a difference. Yes, absolutely.
All right, you and I have to take our final break for this hour. Please stand by. Exonation Laura Walthers is our special guest. As I said, she is the author of Life in Nature Revealed, real photographs of fairies, gnomes, and elves. Her website is www.beingenchanted.com. That's www.beingenchanted.com. And we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Where is the moment we needed the most? You kick up the leaves and the magic is lost. Tell me your blue skies fade to gray. Tell me your passion's gone away. And I don't need no carrying on. You stand in the line just to hit a new low. You're faking a smile with the coffee to go. And tell me your life's been way offline. You fall into pieces every time. And I don't need no carrying on. 'Cause you had a bad day. You take it one down. You sing a sad song.
Laura Walthers is our special guest. We're talking about Laura's book, Life in Nature Revealed, real photographs of fairies, gnomes, and elves. Her website is beingenchanted.com. Laura, what advice do you have for people who'd like to go out into nature, start taking photographs, and try and capture some fairies, elves, or gnomes themselves?
Sure. If you really want to connect with them, there are two things you need to do. First, create an intention to do so, and make sure your heart is open. If your heart isn't open, they can't stay in your energy very long. Before you go out in nature, calm yourself. Let go of your worries of the day and open to the concept of an unlimited universe. Feel the oneness of all creation. When you choose to be a part of all that is, you change your vibration. It's as if you open a doorway to a relationship with the elementals when you do this. One of the first signs that you are opening this connection is when you see orbs in your photograph. This is happening quite frequently nowadays. Did you realize that sometimes you can actually see elementals inside of the orbs? By holding a higher heart energy, these orbs actually become a doorway or lens to another level of consciousness. With the increasing vibration of planet Earth and use of digital photography, it becomes much easier to capture these elementals with your camera. The orbs could also be other levels of beings. They could be angels, ancestors, or even spatial beings, or simply just energy. My friend Christine and I took photos of a fairy festival we were attending, and the band was playing, and they loved to be around a lot of joy, so we were dancing to the band, and I took several pictures. and later revealed thousands of these orbs. You could barely even see the band playing. And it is, the photograph of that is in my book. So, but that is pretty much the key here, is to keep your hearts open and choose to make a conscious connection with the trees and the plants. This really opens the door to the connection with the elementals. It really forms a common bond with the role of the elementals, which is to take care of nature and the environment. And once we make this choice and they begin to trust us, they can help inspire our lives in many different ways. It
Laura,
affects every aspect of your life.
Laura, we're running out of time very fast. Where can our listeners get a copy of your book?
Go to my website at www.beingenchanted.com, and there's you can order it right there.
Excellent. Laura, thank you very much for joining us. A great pleasure talking to you. And we've got about 20 seconds. What would you like to just tell our listeners? Or do the Faeries, Gnomes, and Elves have a message for us?
Yes. Be playful, be gentle to yourself, and love yourself, because with that, everything else falls into play. And I bless you, and thank you for having me on the show, and many happy returns, and happy trails, my friend.
Thank you very much, Laura. Laura Walthers has been my guest this hour. She is the author of Life in Nature Revealed, Real Photographs of Fairies, Gnomes, and Elves. Her website is beingenchanted.com. I'll be back on the other side of the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. I'll be with you at 6.5 minutes past. Don't go away.